Now, Colin got into the garden, and he was always described as being pale, and he flushed red. So he got some color into his skin, which made him look more healthy. One of the reasons why people are afraid of zombies is because the zombies have a pale skin, which looks like a dead person. So people have built into them certain things that they recognize as being dead, and trying to avoid a dead person because whatever killed the dead person could kill them. Which is why zombies are frightening because they look like dead people. Which is why clowns are frightening because they look like dead people. So there are certain instances where, with the white face, it looks like a dead person and people are afraid of it. And there's a word, colorophobia, which is fear of clowns, which is, I think, related to color. I'm not sure, but it's colorophobia, fear of clowns. And so Lolly is afraid of clowns.
Lolly doesn't like clowns.
Lolly doesn't like clowns. She's not afraid. She just doesn't like clowns. Which, I kind of understand. Anyway, so Colin got this color back into his skin, which is a wonderful thing. Now, there was something interesting. Colin asked how the people in India, how the servants in India were dismissed. And it's, you have my permission to go. You have my permission to go. Now, George Bernard Shaw, playwright, once said that America and England are two peoples divided by a common language. And it's interesting because although we speak English and they speak English, and English is spoken in India, because English is such a weird language, and so much of it is contextual. I mean, English has twice as many words as any other language, but at the same time, the words do double duty and have triple meaning. And all of that is based on the context. Now, the "you have my permission to leave" is a very British thing, because it's telling someone to go without actually telling them. And there are a number of stories where a number of business use cases and business use case test cases. I'll come up with the word. Anyway, where people say something and it is said as a suggestion. What the thing is that the suggestion is intended as an order, because the giving the direct statement is viewed as overly harsh. And so there are people who speak English in some countries who speak in a very direct way, because their culture has the expectation that you will speak in the direct way. Other places, England is notorious for this, where something is stated as a suggestion or a comment, and it is an actual hard command. You have my permission to leave, which is saying, okay, you can go if you want. I'm not holding you here. But no, it's not actually saying, you have my permission to leave. It's, you will leave now. Likewise, in A Christmas Carol, Scrooge, "Good afternoon, sir. Good afternoon." Scrooge is not telling the people to leave. He's just saying, "Good afternoon." It's like, have a wonderful day. And it's like, I said, "Good afternoon." And so it was a command to leave, but the people didn't necessarily recognize it as that. And that's one of the weird things about English, because depending on who's saying it, what their culture is, the words can mean wildly different things. I've heard that the word "quite" in American English means the opposite of what it means in British English. So if you say something is quite nice in American English, that's very nice. In British English, quite nice is, oh, yeah, not so nice. So quite is one of those words that's like, it means two different things depending on who's saying it. So there have been all sorts of confusions over that because if you say it one way and you know it means one thing, but you don't know it means the other, you can get into all sorts of troubles. And once again, I've read stories about businesses that have just had this nightmare because you have an American and an Englishman, and they say the same words, but they mean the opposite things. And then you have somebody from India who's trying to make sense of it, and they go online and they look it up and they see it means two different things, and they're like, I don't know what to do. So, that's quite a kettle of fish there. Uh, and one of the things I loved about this chapter was how it talked about the flowers coming alive and it matched it to music. And it just reminded me of back in Through the Looking Glass and the garden flowers and the garden flowers singing and the old Disney movies, because Disney did a lot of movies with singing flowers and dancing, and it was kind of fun and silly and happy. And so I just had this whole vision of that as I was reading about the explosion of colors in the pipes. And this is the same sort of thing that was going through Colin's head. Now, they made reference to Little Red Riding Hood and how big your eyes are. And so that's a great story, and I don't think I've done that. So I got to tell the story of Little Red Riding Hood at some point, but because that's one of those stories that everybody really should know. Um, but that is my thoughts on chapter 20.